Oh, shit. Okay, so I'm going to assume that works. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. If it does, welcome back to the Slurred Minutes podcast, because I've been drinking for a long time. And here's the thing. I'm real fucking bummed out about how the Braves are doing right now. So I don't know. I'm having trouble getting connected back to the league. And I thought maybe this would be a good idea. Hostile, before you even fucking say anything, shut up. Shut up. I don't want text messages. I don't want to hear from you. Enjoy your vacation in Mobile. Don't want to hear about it. Moving on to the league. It's an interesting time. Hey, Hodges, if you're still watching after what you just saw. We are post-trade deadline in a non-waiver trade deadline world, and so we're all living with the decision we've made so far. There's no players on the waiver wire really that are worth picking up. There's no free agents that are worth picking up. We're stuck with what we've got. We've got an interesting landscape. Outside of the American League East, every division out there is up for grabs. Now, you can make an argument that the National League Central is a forgotten conclusion, because if we're all being fair, nobody gives a shit about the Reds. The Brewers are not coming back. The Cardinals are going to run away with this division, even though they're only 4.5 up, and they suck. Tough to say from a Braves fan, but if you're looking at this thing objectively, the Cardinals aren't winning anything, right? So you look at the National League East. 2 teams tied in first place. The Braves half game back, the Marlins 3.5 back, and even the Phillies, who admittedly are not really a challenge this year, have made a lot of moves to set themselves up for next year, are only 10.5 games back. You then have the National League West, where you have 3 teams. We'll forget the Padres and the Diamondbacks even exist for the moment, but you have the Dodgers, Rockies, and Giants all within 3 games at the top. All the top 3 teams in the National League. Now, again, by record, the Cardinals belong in that argument, but we're going to forget them because they really don't belong in that argument. Ryan Brockman, if you ever come back to being active in this league, I will apologize to you, but you've been basically absent and a ghost to this point, so fuck off. In the American League, again, the American League East is kind of boring, and it's sad to say that because the Rays are such an interesting team. The fact that the Red Sox are even close to 500 baseball is very interesting to me. The Orioles have seen a slight resurgence, not a massive one since Drew Hastings took over. And the Yankees are a fucking disaster. I love Rhett, but God damn it, are they terrible. 33 games back. A forgotten conclusion. The Central is incredibly interesting, right? The Twins have just retaken the lead from the Indians. Now, they're only a half game left after the Indians won tonight and the Twins lost, but the Indians have been winning for, 2 months? And finally the Twins caught them. Can they hold on to the lead? What's going on here? Can the White Sox sneak back into this thing? No. 9.5 games back. Sorry, Hodges. I don't think you're expecting to compete this year. But it's interesting. The National League East, the American League Central is interesting. There's 2 teams at least. In the American League West, yes, the Angels have a 7-game lead over the Mariners. I know that the Angels are the best team in baseball. I know they have a pedigree that is unstoppable, and they continue to win. But come on. The Mariners just went out and got the best player in baseball. The Rangers have been playing spectacular baseball all season. The Houston Astros would be the second best team in the National League, if not first, behind the Dodgers or in front of the Dodgers. And that's 4 teams deep. And you have the A's, who, again, their record, I don't think tells their whole story. I really like that A's roster. And they went out and got Walker Buehler. They went out and got Shelby Miller, if I'm not mistaken. I am not. They went out and got Shelby Miller. So they now have a 1 and a 1B at the top of that rotation, as well as having a decent lineup. I think the A's are an interesting team next year. We can get into that later. I've been fucking tooting the A's horn for too long for them to still be in the bottom of this division, and it'd be okay for me. I'm excited about where we are right now, despite the fact that my favorite team sucks. Just total donkey nutsack. I'm really, really interested to see how the next 2 months of this season play out. So I don't know. I didn't really have a whole lot planned for what we were going to talk about here today. I guess what I wanted to take a big look at was see the real early impact of some of these big trade pieces that come across. And obviously, if you're looking at big trade pieces at the deadline, the biggest piece you're going to take a look at is Armando Cabanas. The guy steps into the 4-hole in Seattle for a team that has historically slaughtered outfielders as they've come across. You look at a slew of people that have come to Seattle as superstars and have become very pedestrian. In over 7 games in Seattle, Armando Cabanas has not been pedestrian by any means. But he hasn't been what you thought he would either. Now, again, 7 games, right? Guy's hitting 280. Not bad. No home runs. Not really what you're looking for out of a guy hitting the 4-hole. He has driven in 4 runs. Again, not bad. He's walked 5 times. Only struck out 8 times. Again, nothing to really sneeze at. The fact that he has a 419 OBP is very impressive, right? But that's not what you're fucking looking for out of a guy like Armando Cabanas to come in when you're 7 games back of the best team in baseball and you thought this guy was the piece that was going to get you over the top and get you to the top of this division, get you into the playoffs. Guess what? You were 7 games back of the Angels still. A game and a half back of the fucking Tampa Bay Rays, who have, what, a quarter of the budget that you got? And you were sitting a game and a half up with the Texas Rangers, who can slug with the best of them. Now, that's just recent, too, because the Mariners have won 3 straight and the Rangers have lost a couple in a row. So until, 3 days ago, the Rangers were sitting out of the playoff picture despite their acquisition of Armando Cabanas. Now, do I still think it was the right move? Yes. But it's interesting, and this will be interesting down the stretch. Now, we all thought this was going to be interesting when he acquired Armando Cabanas. You want me to sit down, Beckman? I don't have anywhere to sit, man. That's the thing. So, look, we're in the kitchen, right? I guess there's a table over there. When I was sitting over here, there's a dog. George, you want to say hi, bud? George, stop putting your head down. That's George. That's Dempsey. Both dogs. When I was sitting, the internet wasn't working, so I'm standing now, Jack. But I agree. I probably should be sitting. Yeah. He's just terrified of what's happening right now. Here's the interesting part, right? To me, it's the argument that was made by Anonymous GM. It's the argument that was made by a lot of people that submitted their anonymous takes. Did that trade put the Angels in a position to make the playoffs? It should, right? I mean, the Mariners needed a player who could drive in runs, and Armando Cabanas should be that guy. But through a week, he's not. And this team is still what it was. Now they're back in the playoff picture. You have to figure with this fucking rotation, with this bullpen, with this offense, these guys will make the playoffs. And the Mariners are dangerous in the playoffs. Now, Armando Cabanas' playoff history is a little touch and go. When he plays, he's very, very good. But we all know he's missed a couple of games. So I don't know. I mean, you still have to give him an A, I guess. I don't know. Was I supposed to grade these trades? Oh, thank you, Jack. I don't think I was setting out to grade the trades, was I? I don't know. Again, I didn't put a lot of thought into what I was going to do here. I really just wanted to talk about the league because activity's been down, right? Since the trade deadline, naturally, nobody's been around. We haven't been talking about it. We had a couple of articles posted right after the trade deadline happened, and we haven't really done much since. So I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about what's going on. Let's move on from the Mariners, who I think that trade's been dissected enough. Let's move to somebody who didn't make a trade. And I guess that would be the Minnesota Twins, right? The Twins didn't really make a move. Everybody thought they needed to. Everybody looked at the Twins thinking, this team doesn't have enough to make a splash in the playoffs. They're behind the Indians now. Yeah, we all kind of knew that this would be a battle to the end. But I think the majority of us looked at this team and thought, you know what? The Twins aren't going to make a splash here. The Indians can hold them off. The Indians are going to make the playoffs. And we knew Aiden was incredibly active at the deadline. Now, there were rumors that the Twins were trying to move Kevia Sampson. There were rumors that they were trying to move Martin Lopez. There were fake rumors out there that he was trying to move Gary Copeland. We all knew those weren't true. So there were a lot of fake movement rumors out there about the Twins, but he ended up not doing anything. And Rocky sat tight, and his team has responded. I mean, I think you sit it here and you look at a group that their ownership group said to them, listen, you guys have finished first in the division in the last 2 years. We have upped our payroll. We've committed to the group we have here. We want you guys to go out there and prove this city right. And since the trade deadline, they've done exactly that. They went out there and they won the division series against the Kansas City Royals, which they fucking should do. The Royals are terrible. They went out there and they won a series against the Braves, which, again, you should do because the Braves are not great. They went out there and they won a division series, or interleague series, against the Marlins, which you can argue whether you should or not. But for those of you AL elitists out there that believe the National League isn't a real league, you fucking should win those series. Now, they are one game into an American League Central Division rivalry series with the Indians, which will last 4 games in Cleveland and will have a huge, huge impact on how the rest of the season goes down. And they lost the first game. Not really that surprising when you think about the fact that it's in Cleveland, the heated moment that you were going up against. Very surprising when you look at the fact that it was Nathan Eovaldi on the hump for the Twins. Now, Eovaldi did not have a lot of luck this season. He has been it's only his second loss as a Twin on the year. But he did go against my man Joe Kelly, who, despite all fucking odds and reason, has won 5 games this year for the fucking Indians and is posting a 3.00 ERA. Doesn't make any sense. The guy's, I don't want to call him a disaster, but Joe Kelly sucks. There's no reason Joe Kelly should be winning games. But he did. He pitched a great game. 6 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. Only allowed 2 walks, struck out 4, threw 103 fucking pitches over 6 innings. So again, you know what you're dealing with here. Benuelos came in, almost gave up the damn game, but Serrano was able to shut it down here at the end as the Twins get shut down just short of coming back. But again, the Twins are a team that didn't make a move. And I think they're now positioned. I still don't think they're the favorite to win the Central. I think it's the Indians. And I think this series will prove it. I think that the Indians win the series 3-1. But I'd love to see a team that decided, if I'm going to sell, I'm going to sell high. You're going to fucking pay for my players, right? We all know Rocky is not a guy to sell off people cheap. But he definitely looked at his team and said, if you're going to get somebody off my team, you're going to pay for it, right? And we are now in a situation where I wish I could screen share so you weren't looking at me, you were looking at the screen I was looking at. That would make way more sense. Or if I could just do this thing the way that Matt and Cole seem to do it, so you don't have to look at me in the damn face the whole time. That might make more sense. It's probably not the moment to think about that. What was I talking about? I forget. Anyway, the Twins, yeah? How about it? So if you're going to look at a different division, because I think we just talked about the only 2 teams in the Central that matter this year at least are the Twins and the Indians. Now the White Sox community have an argument made for them. The Tigers, God bless them, they have an uphill battle, but they've done a good job building for the future. And fuck no, they're not going to be relevant next year. No, they're not going to be relevant in 2021. No, they're not going to be relevant in 2022. But 2023, you watch out for those Tigers. If we move over to the National League, you know, some of you may argue that it's not important, but I really want to look at what the Dodgers have done, because this is a team that has defied the odds, I suppose, in a sense, that they're a team that has come way from behind. I think if you were looking at this division a month ago, we talked about this as a 2-team division, the Rockies and the Giants. It was a Buchholz division. And now suddenly both Buchholz brothers are sitting behind the Dodgers, and a team that can't put the ball over the fence, literally sitting dead last in the National League. That can't be right. No, I mean, not dead last. They're not looking great. Is 12th last? How many teams are there in the National League? No. Almost last. There's 15 teams in the National League. Not looking great, though. Hitting 97 home runs to this point. What are they? 117 games in. It's not even a home run per 9 innings. You wouldn't think a team like that would be leading such a hotly contested division. But they've won 70 games. They're scoring plenty of runs. They're getting on base. Their pitching has been spectacular. And their defense behind their pitching has been even better. So I look at a guy, I guess like Plummer? Who the shit is Nick Plummer? Like, Nick Plummer is 22 years old. He is playing in his first season in the major leagues. He has hit 6 home runs. He's driven in 47 RBIs. He's doing 271. How much of this is luck? How much of this is people getting on base? But how do you make that argument when people are getting on base? Like, they're walking. There's no luck involved in how they get on. They put the bat on the ball. They get on base. They get around the horn. They're not stealing. They're 13th in stolen bases. So it's not like they're playing a small ball on the fact that they're stealing. They're getting off first and they're stealing. They're literally just waiting for their pitch and hitting it. They're being careful with what they're swinging at, so they're walking plenty. And then when people are on base in scoring position, they're knocking them in. I mean, the Dodgers are an incredible example of what happens when you have talented baseball players 1 through 9. There's no hole in this offense, and because they don't rely on the long ball, every single one of these guys is capable of driving in a run. So I don't know, man. I'm really surprised and impressed by what the Dodgers have done. Their starting rotation has been spectacular. Obviously, Jared Kozart has been better than I think anybody would have expected, and maybe leading the division or leading the kind of charge in the National League West, at least, for a potential Cy Young award. 3 pitches. He throws a fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. They're all very good. That's it. No sinker, no knuckleball. Dude just fucking throws the ball, and it's good. He had 2.81 ERA last year, over 204 innings. A 3.2 ERA over 214 innings in 2017. And over 148 innings in 2019, he's posting a 249 ERA. How the fuck have I never heard of this guy? I had no idea who Jared Kozart was. And he's spectacular. I should have traded for this guy. Sorry, the Braves should have traded for this guy. Yeah, I agree, Hodges. I do think the Dodgers are the favorite in the National League. I literally did not. I hadn't given them a second fucking thought 4 weeks ago. And suddenly the Dodgers, they're impressive. I don't know. I look up and down, and I'm really impressed. They went out and got Lucio Cruzado, who to me is an interesting piece. I don't love Cruzado. I really don't. I want to, but I don't. They give up Israel Cruz, Xavier Noonan, Jimmy Benatine, Claudio Santos. For him, and really the only piece here you're looking at to be anything of substance, maybe Cruz. Cruz could hit a bunch of home runs in New York, but he wasn't going to hit him in L.A. And a guy like Xavier Noonan, again, could be decent, but he wasn't going to hit home runs in L.A. And you went out and get a guy like Lucio Cruzado, who's 30 years old. Sure, he makes, $11 million. It's not what you're looking for, but Cruzado's been good. He slots in as the 2 guy. He's a good pitcher. He's consistent. He's not going to walk a lot of people. And for a team that scores plenty of runs and plays great defense, you want contact, right? You want a pitcher that's going to draw contact. And Cruzado is not going to walk yet. He's going to make you put the ball in play. Now, granted, he's at a 4.18 ERA at this point, and that's not spectacular. It's only 3.72 here in LA, but I like the pickup, and I think Cruzado is going to be good and for the Dodgers organization. You look at a guy like Gabriel Guerrero. No, it's not sustainable. No, a lot of these pitching statistics are not. Gabriel Guerrero is not a 10-win, 2.52 ERA pitcher. He's not. He's fucking not. There's no way. But I think Kozart, Cruzado, Darvish are good enough to carry this team through a divisional series. I think McIntosh is a great 4th pitcher. Now, the interesting part about all 5 of these guys, 6 of them in the lineup, they all tend to draw ground ball contact as opposed to putting the ball in the air. And when you look at the team as a whole, this team is built around the idea that they're going to get ground ball outs, right? Hidalgo, Garcia, Profar, even Fletcher at first base, not really thought of as a great first baseman, has been very good at first this year, right? I mean, he's had an 877 efficiency rating. He's got a negative zone read, but I mean, he's not made a lot of errors. And he hits the ball very well. So, I mean, this Dodgers team is very interesting. And I think if you're looking for, okay, Nick Plummer sucks ass in August. That's a very good point. I haven't quite seen that yet. But I mean, I think if you're looking for what the World Series looks like, which is definitely not where we started this conversation or kind of at all where I thought this conversation was going to go. Honestly, when I started it, I was going to do a top 10 prospects thing. I don't have the energy to look through them right now. I don't think I'm even confident enough to go down that line. What I ended up looking for was teams that might win the divisions. When you look at this up and down, I think you're looking at the Blue Jays clearly in the East. I still think it's the Indians in the Central, but I think the Twins come out of it and make a really big run. I think the Angels win it out west. Fucking shocker. The Mariners and I think the second place team in the Central come out and get the wild card team spots. I think if you're looking out in the National League, I think you have, man, I would love to say the Nationals because they have been a very interesting story. I still think it's the Mets. They really didn't do anything, and if I look up and down the lineup of the pitching staff, I hate it, honestly, but they've just got the pedigree. I think the Mets win the East. I think the Cardinals clearly win the Central, and I do think the Dodgers come out of it in the West, and I think you have the Rockies and the Giants grabbing the 2 wild card spots. I think if you look forward to the championship series in both leagues, you're probably looking at Blue Jays Angels. If you're betting on the odds, I'm going to take a different stance. I'm going Indians, and I'm going – there's no fucking way. I'm going Indians, and I'm going Angels. I wanted to go Indians, Rangers. It's not happening because I just said they weren't going to make the playoffs. That would have been a really bad bet. So I'm going Indians, and I'm going Angels. And I think in the National League, you have to look at probably the Dodgers and the Mets. Now, I think the Dodgers probably win it, although I love the Mets' depth and I love their experience. It's going to be Dodgers, and it's going to be Angels. So you have a Los Angeles battle. You've got that freeway series again. And I think at this time, as much as I hate to say it, the Angels come out on top. I just don't see a way that the National League wins this year. And it's interesting, right? The National League continues to be the league that trades superstars away. Now, my favorite team is very guilty of this. For the future, we trade for the future. We trade for the future. If you look at the history of this league, the future doesn't work. Guys, the prospects don't turn out. The development churn in this league is terrible. So you think about the Braves Cabanas trade in particular, they got, 14 prospects back for that? I think you probably look at 2 or 3 of them working out as decent players. You're not getting a superstar out of that, and you have to be happy if you're a Braves fan with that. Now, why is that worth 6 years of control for a superstar? I don't know, right? So I think this league probably has to wake up to the fact that trading for prospects and trading for the future is not the way to go. Now, I say that, but the fucking Astros built through the draft, and they drafted all these players, and they acquired a couple of different prospects. Maybe it is the way to go, but it does seem to look like drafting is the way to do it. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. How long have I been on the air? Has it been 10 minutes? It's been 25. Guys, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I wasn't supposed to be here. I should be in there drinking beer or vodka, whatever. Is anybody still watching? If you're around and you got a topic to talk about, let's talk about it real quick. I see people online. I see Ryan Buckles. Hodges has been commenting. Beckman's still around technically. I don't think he's here. And Brett, definitely not here. Hodges is watching. Hodges, you want to talk about anything, man? Because it's been bad. A fair point. I mean, the White Sox suck. And again, I think you and I have talked about this privately. Like, as a beat reporter, definitely not an owner of one of these teams, I have access to some of these GMs, and I talked to them times about the White Sox direction. And I think he and I are in agreement, maybe not. But to me, the White Sox problem is they can't commit. Right? They committed. They've gone in. They've bought these players. And they'll give it 3/4 of a season. If it doesn't work out, they'll fucking sell it. Change directions into White Sox stick this out. I don't think they made any. Correct me if I'm wrong. None of these look big. Gio Gonzalez was fantastic this year. This was a great signing for them because they signed him as a free agent. They got Bill Pike in return. Now Bill Pike could turn into something, could not. Who knows? They did different. Okay, so I'm talking on my fucking ass. They traded away Porter Coran. They traded away the pitcher they traded to Philadelphia. They traded away some of their young arms. But I think the White Sox have positioned themselves well to still have a rotation that's functional, right? Bill Black is a stud at the top. Like, the guy's going to be a killer throughout his career. Jeff Wallace, I really like Jeff Wallace. Jorge Fernandez is functional for now, but I can't assume he's going to be a long-term solution. Now, you do have Jonathan the Scorpion Ware down in AAA, ready to make his debut next year. Juan Alvarado is interesting enough as a left-handed pitcher to make some noise here. So Beckman is behind Hodges. I don't know what that means. Division that has historically been viewed as a two-team division are primed to be relevant. Now, if I'm really being serious about this, I would have loved to see them move Miguel Leon years ago, because as good as he's been, I think they could have gotten something interesting for this kid 2 years ago. I still think they can get something interesting in the offseason. Miguel Leon is not the reason the White Sox will be relevant. I think they can move him and get enough pieces back. They could have 2 years ago for sure. And make this team a real contender. Now, when Martin Perez comes back next year, when Omar Silva comes back next year, when Rocky Shoulders is back next year, when Brian Matthews is back next year, I think this team, as constructed, is good enough to win this division. Now, again, I'd love to see them go out, move Leon, get a couple pieces, maybe build. If we can rewind 3 weeks, I would have loved to see them move Leon and get some pieces to build for next year. He didn't do it. Leon's hitting fourth. He's never going to be the power threat you want as a cleanup hitter in the American League. But I like him. He's a great 3. He's probably a good 2. He's probably a good 6 hitter. He's not your 4. So I think the White Sox need to go out and get somebody. I just don't know where they're gonna get it at this point. Gabriel Gonzalez? 20, 25 home runs. That's fucking great, by the way. Don't let me dismiss that. Tim Allen is probably 4 years away. Some of these prospects they've got in the system are great, but they're a long time away. I think the White Sox, you've got guys like Tanner Marks, who can probably fucking mash one day. Ernesto Pena can mash one day. Marty Arnold can probably mash now, but he's going to strike out 117 times while he's on his way to doing it. Jesus Aguilar can probably hit some home runs if they call them up. I don't know, man. When I look at this roster, the White Sox give me a good feeling. And I think if Hodges can get out of his own way, leave this team alone, suffer through the bad times, which, again, my favorite team, the Braves, are very guilty of. They're going through it right now. The Braves have been, and we're not, I promise you, we're not going down a Braves rabbit hole here, but the Braves have been horrid for the last month and a half. Ownership's losing their shit. There's only a half game back. So they could still come back and win this thing, but the ownership is losing their fucking mind. They traded Armando Cabanas, the best player in the game, because they were losing fucking games. And the White Sox are going through the same situation. And they're not trading Armando Cabanas. Granted, they haven't traded Miguel Leon. But again, I think it's one of these situations where when the White Sox lose some games, they start to panic. And they got into that same situation this year. I would love to see the White Sox stand pat through the end of the year, not make the playoffs, mind you. Go out and get somebody. Not somebody massive. I'm not talking about a Clayton Kershaw deal, because the Clayton Kershaw deal was huge. Lost the feed. Ah, shit. If I'm talking to nobody, I'm going to stop. Hang on. Oh, Jack's still here. Okay, we're still good. The Clayton Kershaw deal was too big, right? I'm not talking about a big deal like Clayton Kershaw. I'm talking about a regular deal. If they can go do something like that, I think the White Sox are threats. Now, let's pander a little bit to the audience we have still listening. Let's talk about the Phillies randomly. The Phillies have gone out and publicly stated that they think that they're the best team in the National League East, publicly stated that they think that they are a contender. I mean, I think even Jack would admit at this point, 10.5 games back, they're probably not a contender this year. But Jack Beckman definitely thinks the Phillies are a contender in 2020. And when you look up and down this roster, it's fucking hard to disagree with him. I mean, you have a guy like Juan Francisco hitting second. Now, sure, you can argue the merits of his contract all day long, but if you're not talking dollar worth, Juan Francisco is a spectacular offensive threat, right? He's hit 270 since coming over. He's only hit 7 home runs in 42 games. This is a little bit behind the pace you'd expect for a guy like Juan Francisco, but the kid still has pop left in his bat at 32 years old. Anthony Hale playing center field, probably better suited for a corner role, but again, the guy can mash. Like you expect Anthony Hale to just rake. And so far in Philadelphia, 20 game sample size, 4 home runs. Not bad. One of your 5 games, I'd take it over the course of a season, but I'm looking for more at Anthony Hale. Right? Ryobi Kamita, kid's a monster. This kid is probably one of the best offensive, and I think that's incredibly important to continue to note, first baseman. He's had 30 home runs today. He's on pace for 42 on the year. I think he breaks 100 RBIs. Right? You go behind him in the 5 spot. Who are you looking at? You're looking at Josh Bell. Again, a huge home run threat. On pace to hit 31 home runs on the year. He's at 22 right now. So that's your back-to-back 30 home run hitters. Behind him, you have JP Ramirez. Again, a horrid defender, but a spectacular offensive player. The Phillies might as well be the Toronto Blue Jays of 4 years ago that made the playoffs and ended up losing in the championship. Did Brett, or not Brett, what was that kid's name? Who was the the Blue Jays owner who hated music and was, I don't know. We had a Blue Jays owner, Dave, thank you. Dave was a guy who believed defense wasn't important. Now, he hated music. So obviously he's Jonathan Hodges' mortal enemy. But he also hated the Dolphins as an animal? Or the Dolphins? Hodges, I need you to confirm. Did he hate Dolphins the animal or Dolphins the football team? Just Dolphins. Why? How the fuck did that come up? Never mind. It doesn't matter. This is unimportant. Well, it's important. We have to get into this. But I don't know if it's important now because I was kind of running down the Phillies lineup. And again, Logan Moore, very good offensively. Now, actually, Logan Moore doesn't fit the mold because he's great defensively. And a guy like Mike Murray, fantastic defensively, but he's like a post-hype guy who just has never quite made it. Right? I love Mike Murray's potential. I do. I really like it. He's great defensively across the board. God damn it, is he sucked in the major leagues. Now, 59 games played for Philly, 45 started, he's hit 200. His LBP is 282. Great, but it's not terrible for the defense he's played. He's actually on pace for a negative fucking WAR. Sorry, he's on pace for a positive WAR. And regardless, Mike Murray's not your option long term. So when I look up and down this lineup, I don't know that the Phillies are the best team in the world. What I'm telling you right now is the Phillies are going to score more runs than any National League team outside of the National League West next year. They're going to lead the National League East, and they're going to lead the National League Central in runs scored. I think the Rockies will probably score more. I think the Dodgers, you know what? I don't. I'm going to say it right now. The Dodgers don't repeat with this bullshit next year. The Dodgers are not going to score as many runs next year. But the Giants might. So I think the Phillies finish third in runs scored next year. I think a rotation of Sean Gilmartin, Garrett Cole, Pedro Magana, Cody Ponce, and Aaron Crow probably puts up a better fucking ERA than 3.94. So I think you're looking at a legit. legitimate threat in the National League East. Bottlenose, smarter than human creatures. You know, it's interesting. You have Matt Latos? Oh, shit, yeah. Well, that's interesting. So Matt Latos, I kind of forgot he was acquired. And yeah, he's coming back. Now, granted, he's 30. This team's old as fuck, by the way. Like, super, super old. And this is one of the issues that the previous GM, John Comey, had with this team, is that they were getting old. And that's kind of why he walked away. It's why we see a lot of GMs walk away, because their team gets old and they can't stomach the rebuild. So Comey walked away. Luckily, Jack Bettman stepped in, and he seems to be able to stomach this rebuild. But this team is old as shit, by the way. I mean, Latos is, yeah. If Latos was a salary dump, that's a great salary dump. The dude's still solid. He's just old as hell. There's a lot of talk going on real quick about the bottlenose Dolphins. Dave was interesting. You know, this is going to be a non-baseball related. I read an article yesterday, about Jupiter's moons. And did you know that Jupiter's moon, particularly one of them, which name I cannot remember, has a 70-mile deep ocean that they anticipate has sea life in it. And we're actually now organizing a space mission out there that's going to land and search. So, because of some weird atmospheric bullshit, they're expecting these sea creatures to be fucking huge. So, we're taking some space mission out there to find giant sea creatures in this weird ocean. Oh God, what did I just do? It's okay. I knocked over the soap. What was I talking about? Anyway, they're gonna bring these sea creatures back. That's it. We don't need to go into this weird science fiction bullshit, because this would be a whole different podcast, which I'm happy to do, by the way. If you guys want to talk about weird shit, I'll do it, and we'll go down a different road, but I feel like it's not going to be as well received by the MLB pro community. I feel like I've gone well past my welcome point. Almost 40 minutes. That's too much. That's way too much. That's way, way too much. Crashed into life. Wait, we crashed life onto Mars. Sorry, we transported life to Mars, Hodges? The moon. We took animals to the moon? That seems false. Did we do it on purpose? While he's thinking about this, because I think Hodges is full of shit. There's no way we transported life to moon on purpose. There's nothing else needs to be talked about, guys. It's going to be interesting. I promise you, I will do better research, intelligent podcasting down the stretch, even though the fact that my team is going to shit the fucking bed. God damn it, Braves. I want to talk about the Braves so bad, but I know nobody cares other than me. But for fucking sake, can we talk real quick, real fast, about how this team won 98 games last year, went to the World Series, and then forgot to re-sign their fucking head coach, who led them to this point. Forgot to re-sign them. How the fuck does that happen? And he signs with the Rockies, and guess where the Rockies are right now? In first place in the National League West. Well, second, I guess, at this point. But you have to figure that part of that is due to the management style. And what has happened at this point? This team has lost 4 times this week. 4 times this week. By week, I mean last 7 games. Because the fucking relief pitchers have continued to hit in the 9th inning. Because Craig Kimbrell got a hit at some point. Because we've had 11 hits and we can't drive in runs. Because these fucking assholes can't. I'm done with it. This team sucks. All right, I think I'm going to sign off. That's Water Bear. I know the Water Bears. We put Water Bears on the moon. Why? Why should we do this? Those things are spectacular. By the way, Water Bears might be the greatest creature that ever lived. Aiden, don't listen to this podcast. It's Yeah. But, I mean, that's a fair assessment, I think. Just don't listen. Hodges, I'm going to read that story. There's no fucking way we put water bears on the moon on purpose. Those things would evolve into the most intelligent species that we could possibly imagine in like 8 years and probably kill us. I'm going to sign off. And I'm going to try to go get a hit off Steven Strasburg in MLB The Show 19 because it's really hard and I suck at this game the more I'm drunk. What does that mean? What do you mean they're dehydrated? I don't understand. What? You know, a water bear can live in space. They don't even fucking dehydrate them. They can. You could have shot that little bitch into space by itself, and it would have been fine. I'm not gonna do that on air. I'm gonna log off, Hodges. And I'll read the article. Don't yell at me, Hodges. That's not nice. I guess that's everything. I apologize for this. If anybody stuck through to this point, I am just terribly sorry. I have to. How do I click off? Jesus Christ.